Good?
Good.
Okay. So I just want to talk about the site conditions very quickly. So we knew that we had prevailing winds coming in. We knew that the riprap was a really big eyesore. There was also a lot of open land. And I looked at the sun location, and as well as there was kind of like a dangerous slope at the bottom half. So with its site conditions, that's how I did a lot of my planning. So I have the conifer windbreak. Those are Ilex opacas. For the eyesore with the riprap, I created a rain garden. And for the open land, I transitioned it into a meadow. And for the slope, it's pretty much like the way that the house was built, it almost like plateaus. It's like a landing pad and then it slopes off. So I had a lot of trouble trying to figure out what to do with that steep slope because the client said that they really wanted full access around the entire property. So what I came up with was a boardwalk. And so for the boardwalk, if you look over here, it has, you only need railings on the boardwalk if it's a certain height above the ground. And the boardwalk is staying pretty low, but it is still elevated. So it has a kick rail that is on the exterior that you can notice there. So I'm gonna just talk about the courtyard quickly, and then I'll kind of work my way around. So the courtyard, they requested a water feature. So for the water feature, I have a stone wall that features kind of a waterfall coming down it, and then there's a linear water channel that has fescue grasses on either side of it. And then that kind of empties into a circular reflecting pond, similar to this. And I really thought the reflecting pond was really nice because it's kind of at the entrance of the courtyard, the entrance of the house. And it's a good way to de-stress if you're coming home from work or whatnot. And also with the reflecting pond, you can also see the sky and the clouds. And you can also see the foliage from these three trees here are Stuartias. And the reason I selected the Stuartia, it's my one and only non-native plant selection, is because I was trying to think of something that had really interesting bark, that was 4 seasons, and it has summer blooms, it has white flowers with orange antlers. It also has a really beautiful autumn foliage color, and then in the winter also has the beautiful bark as well. For the courtyard too, I tried to incorporate more gardens so that it's just not all flagstone. And then up here, they wanted a screen. Those are 2 Winter King hawthorns. That kind of, I originally had an evergreen, but I kind of wanted a see-through transition of somewhat, but also I wanted to give them some privacy as well. So surrounded by that are ground covers, so kind of year-round ground covers for your spring, autumn, summer, and then you can even leave a lot of them up over the winter for winter interest as well. So perennials and ground cover as a mixture. And then I'll talk about the additional parking spot really quickly. Is the client requested an extra parking spot. So for environmental purposes, we selected permeable pavers, so it wouldn't be asphalt. And I actually tucked in another extra parking spot down here as well, just in case they have guests. That's also permeable pavers as well. So this is their woodland area. It's pine trees, and it's underplanted with, we have tiarella, let's see what else we have, Solomon seal, fern, so we have like cinnamon fern, maidenhair fern, and a couple other things, Carex pennsylvanica. So that's kind of like the woodland area, and I wanted to incorporate you know, a ground cover just for critters and habitat and whatnot. So then coming from over here is kind of where the boardwalk starts. I have just some, what is it, the spice bush and your witch hazel. So I wanted some of your early blooms that kind of are out here so that it can be seen by the road. So if you keep going down, I believe it was the wife or just the parents mentioned they wanted an intimate area. So I had viburnum nudums, that kind of, that half circle that was a little odd that they had built. I have that kind of viburnum nudums there, and I also have red twig dogwood because this is the start of the rain garden. The other tree that is in the rain garden is a Magnolia virginicata as well, which does good with wet feet. And so that half circle, I wasn't sure what to do with it, and I incorporated it as a bench. So there's a wooden bench there, and then it starts kind of your boardwalk, your wooden boardwalk as well. So it's a nice transition. You can also you can take the boardwalk and you can go straight out to the meadow. So this is kind of starting your meadow. So it's a mowing strip for the meadow. And you have low grasses, high grasses, and wildflowers in there as well as perennials. So if you continue down the boardwalk, this was, I think, my favorite idea is the shower. That's the far one over there. So it's a hollowed out tree that they put a shower in. They said that they were the shower had to be low maintenance, but I also wanted to give them something really unique that nobody else had. And it also, when you're they really like to entertain, so when they're entertaining and you look over there, it just looks like a snag. And I also incorporated a couple other snags as well, so it doesn't look out of place. So then from the outdoor shower, this here is a bulb cypress, which I really wanted like a statement tree. It does lose its leaves, but I thought that it's just so pretty, I wanted something really big. And I thought it was a really good tree selection for that location. I wanted something big there. So then you can take the boardwalk around, and one of my favorite aspects of it is that you can actually walk across the meadow, so you really engulf yourself by the surroundings of all of the perennials and the shrubs and things like that, and you feel like you're kind of, inside of the rain garden, and you can kind of view it, throughout the seasons. Again, you can take the walking trail out. They said that they wanted to have a walking trail around the meadow. Another thing that I really wanted is, so for the meadow, I really wanted a large stately tree. And so I picked a quercifolia, a white swamp oak. Even though it's called a white swamp oak, it can also do well in sun as well, right? Yeah. And the reason I really wanted this, so this is kind of a focal point. So they do have their views, but the reason I wanted a really large stately tree is to provide the shade and the different ecosystems and kind of for habitat and things like that. Because, in the middle of the summer, that would be, 15, 20 degrees cooler than standing in the middle of the meadow. It just attracts more habitat to the area. So then once you're walking around the boardwalk, down below, this is where you get your sun. So you have your vegetable garden, your tool shed, your compost bin, and there's also a rain barrel as well. So then we kind of get into this like really slopey area. And so I knew just from doing the site analysis that with that type of slope, you can't mow it, and it's dangerous to mow. So I wanted to incorporate, and I wanted to have it all planted out. So starting at the top is kind of your border of intermixed bulbs and perennials. Below the border are grasses. Below the grasses is a mix of perennials and shrubs as well. So some of the shrubs and perennial are, you have your sweet plethora, your sweet pepper bush, and your fothergilla. And then some of the perennials is I really liked the Solidago fireworks because it's kind of like a fountainy feel, so I thought that would be really pretty on the slope. As well as some asters and other perennials as well. And then so below, one of my favorite shrubs is the low growth sumac. And it's a really good stabilizer for slopes. It also has really pretty foliage throughout the year. So that's on the opposite side of the boardwalk. Then you kind of have, so this is a stone wall here. And so really quickly, I want to talk about, sure. Oh, less than a minute, okay. So quickly, I want to talk about, okay, so specific build features. So we have Pennsylvania flagstone. We also have an outdoor living space. It's an outdoor addition and it's an entertainment area. It has really massive, so that's this year, it has really massive oak timbers that were recycled by Chester County Barn. And so to build this, we hired local Chester County builders for the outdoor addition to do the mason work of the stone wall, as well as to do the tool shed, because we wanted to have the skill set reflect the vernacular of the architectural style. And the stone is field stone, and the shed matches the arts and crafts of the house. And so over here we have the recreation area for the kids. There's also a lawn area that the kids can play soccer. So the recreation area has the fire pit. It has a couple other things that they didn't request, but were nice additions once we spoke to the client about them. And there's the lawn up here, and then right here are grasses. So it's kind of right in the middle of the lawn. But one thing that I wanted to do is do a little repetition of having grasses here, having grasses in the slope, and then also having grasses in the meadow. I thought repetition and having the different texture. So we have like Muhlenbergia, or the pink muley grass, little blue stem, and a couple other grasses as well. There's a pergola for an overlook to watch the sunset. There's a bar, herbs, pollinator garden, and I think that's it. Cool.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, you really like your plants.
Yeah.
I know, I should have just skipped over all of that stuff.
Well, but you can see that's how your brain is
Yes,
designing
exactly.
to the
Exactly.
textures.
That's a very good way to put it.
Because I love sumac, and I think that's a great place to put the Grollo sumac.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Why does the cold frame seem like they're way away from the
I originally had the garden, the vegetable garden over here,
Okay.
and then I moved it to this side,
Okay.
so I probably should have moved the cold frames as well.
Yeah. And then what is this path that's taking you from the shower area down to the board? Yeah, right in the middle.
Here?
No. Here.
Oh, that's your perennial border.
Oh, sorry.
So it's kind of just like enclosing the lawn.
Okay.
Yeah, so it cuts off, but this is the path to get to
Good,
that intimate
okay.
area.
Yeah. That's what I thought we were talking.
But yeah, that's kind of rain garden, and then that's lawn.
What I do like is that you use the boardwalk as the main theme of connecting the whole site. How you dealt with through the meadow, over the stormwater management zone, and then across the slope, the little. So that was a nice continuity. I think that would have helped tie in the whole site. And then you changed your ecosystems or your planting palettes as you went along to reflect those topography. Changing the topography or the growing conditions. So I think that patio, though, from the office to your build structure, looks really, really big.
From here, this guy?
This whole thing, yeah.
Or the outdoor,
She didn't render the interior.
Oh.
There is a planting pocket.
Oh, there
in
you're
the
right. Yeah,
interior.
right here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then this is a bed.
Since that was the office, the other
Yeah,
side
this is
is
the
the
office.
retaining area.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It seems like the amount of surface
Yeah.
area for the paving should have been flipped.
Yeah.
Not to say the shapes of this should have been flipped, just the amount of paving.
Gotcha.
There should have been less paving around the office area, because that's more intimate, or that's, it doesn't need to be as large of a
Okay.
paved area.
Maybe I did put the cover down.
Yeah, but,
Yeah, so maybe take out.